Welcome to The Explainer. So, we all think we know what history is, right? It's just stuff that happened a long time ago. But today, we're going to dig a little deeper. We're talking about the epic story of India, and we're asking a much bigger question. How do we even know what happened? We're going to pull back the curtain on the detective work that goes into piecing it all together.
Okay, so just think about this for a second. How do you even begin to tell a story that's over 400,000 years old? It's like a giant jigsaw puzzle with millions of pieces. So where does a historian even start? I mean, how do you find the corner pieces for a puzzle this massive?
And to really wrap your head around the scale here, we're talking about human activity in the Indian subcontinent going back something like 2 million years. That is just an insane amount of time. We're talking way, way before writing, before cities, before anything we'd recognize as modern life. The scale is just mind-boggling.
All right, so to solve this massive puzzle, historians basically have to become detectives. They're hunting for clues left behind by the past. And for the most part, their evidence falls into three main categories. Think of it as their toolkit. Yep, these are the big three: literary sources, archaeological sources, and foreign accounts. Each one gives us a totally different angle on the past. But here's the catch: none of them tells the whole story by itself.
Okay, first up, literary sources. This is the written stuff. And we're talking about a huge range of things here. You've got sacred religious texts like the Vedas, epic poems like the Ramayana and Mahabharata, but also super practical stuff like the Arthashastra, which is basically a manual on how to run a kingdom. These texts are amazing because they give us a window right into the minds of people from that time, what they believed, what they valued, how their societies worked.
Then you've got the archaeological sources, and this is the stuff people physically left behind. This evidence is so powerful because it's tangible, you know? You can literally hold a coin from a long-lost empire. You can walk through the ruins of an ancient city, or you can trace the letters on an inscription that a king had carved into a rock thousands of years ago. This physical proof is what really grounds all the stories we read in the texts. And rounding out our toolkit, we have foreign accounts. This is the outsider's perspective. You've got people like the Greek ambassador Megasthenes, who visited the Mauryan court way back in the 4th century BCE. He wrote down everything he saw: the government, the military, the society, and his work, Indica, gives us this incredible snapshot of ancient India from someone who wasn't from there. It's a super valuable point of view. So when you take all these different clues, the texts, the artifacts, the traveler's tales, and you start putting them together, a picture starts to form, a timeline of empires. So let's do a quick flyby of the story they've managed to piece together. And this right here, this is the backbone of the story. You can see it starts way back with the Indus Valley Civilization, one of the world's first major urban centers. Then we move into the Vedic Age, which was so foundational. And from there, it's this incredible succession of powerful empires: the Mauryans, the Guptas, the Delhi Sultanate, and of course, the Mughals. Each one left a huge mark on the subcontinent. And if we zoom in on one of these, say the Gupta Empire, man, this period is often called India's classical age for a reason. There were just these incredible explosions in science, literature, art, you name it. It was this amazing period of stability and prosperity that gave us brilliant minds like the writer Kalidasa. People often call him India's Shakespeare. And then, much later, you get empires like the Mughals. They came to power in 1526 and consolidated a huge part of the subcontinent. They ruled for over 300 years and left behind this just breathtaking legacy of art and architecture. I mean, we're talking about some of the most iconic and beautiful buildings on the entire planet.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting and a little tricky. You've got all the puzzle pieces, the facts, the dates, the artifacts, but how do you actually put them together to tell a story? Because it turns out the facts don't just speak for themselves. The perspective of the person telling the story, the historian, well, that changes everything.
And this quote really nails it, doesn't it? History is what one age finds where the record's in another stage. The crucial point here is that history isn't just a list of stuff that happened. It's an interpretation of what happened. It's a story, and who tells that story and when they tell it completely shapes our understanding. And boy, can those interpretations change. Let me give you a classic example. When the British were in India, a lot of colonialist historians looked at the past and basically said, well, it was all pretty barbaric and stagnant until we showed up to civilize the place, right? This view helped justify their rule. But then, in response, you had a wave of Indian nationalist historians who came along and said, no way. They looked at the same evidence and highlighted this glorious golden age in ancient India to build national pride and push back against that colonial story. And look, the colonialist and nationalist views are just two schools of thought. There are so many others. A Marxist historian, for instance, is going to look at all this through the lens of class struggle and economics. And then you have subaltern historians who try to tell the story from the bottom up, focusing on the lives of everyday people. The peasants, the tribes, the people who are usually left out of the big story of kings and empires. Each lens you use reveals a totally different part of the past.
So, all of this brings us to a really important question, the big takeaway. If different historians using different lenses can tell such different stories from the same set of facts, which one is right? Is there even a correct version of the past? And maybe that's the wrong question to ask. Maybe the goal isn't to find one single, quote-unquote, correct version of history. The real point is to understand that history isn't a static list of facts set in stone. It's a living, breathing, ongoing conversation. It's a debate about the past that's constantly evolving as we find new evidence and come up with new ways of looking at it.
Because when you understand how the story of the past is put together, you get this incredibly powerful tool. It helps you think critically, not just about what happened way back when, but about the world we live in today. And it makes you wonder, if history is one big argument, what are we going to be arguing about next?